have time. Anyway, and actually, Scott, come up here for a minute with me. I'm extra delighted that my co-editor, this book continues to amaze me, continues to fill my heart. Thank you to the very many readers who are here tonight who contributed to the volume. Thank you to everyone for just making this book such a wonderful success. You know, I did not imagine when we started this process, it was about a 15-month process, what would come out of it. And I'm just beyond delighted with what we have here. So thank you for making this possible.
Yeah.
Scott and those Press for asking me to be part of the process.
Well, thank you. I learned a lot doing this book, a lot.
Well, with that said, we have a lot of readers, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to give very, very brief introductions to each of our readers, and you'll come up and read both your poem, and if you are reading a second one of your poems, let us know, or someone else's, let us know whose that poem, whose poem that is, and then what page it's on would be helpful to people that have books. So we're going to start off with Marcelle Kasprowicz. She's a writer from Austin, Texas, originally from France. Please welcome Marcelle.
I'll read my poem first. I've always been really interested in the first explorers that came from Spain, and so I wrote this.
Louder.
Okay. Try my teacher's voice.
Page?
It's on page 18, and it's called Faith Healer. And it's, well, I'll just read it first. Once I removed an arrowhead from a native's chest. Thanks to our prayers and the grace of our God, he survived. When I was shipwrecked, naked and hungry along the wretched coast, they fed me, they clothed me. I am learning their ways, digging roots, women's work, to free their men for hunting. I have become a trader of shells, bows, arrows. I am their beast of burden, their slave, their faith healer. Once I was a soldier, appointed by the King of Spain as chief officer in the Narvaez, Florida expedition. I am still an explorer. At last I escape with my 3 companions, Dorantes, Castillo, and Estebanico, and venture on foot, crossing rivers, living with the Coahuilteca. Finally, we reach the other sea. How far are we from Mexico City? And this is the story of a part of the story of Cabeza de Vaca, who was in command of the Florida expedition, and he lived and worked with the Native American Stone Age tribes. His resilience and resourcefulness were remarkable, and his anthropological accounts are considered uniquely important. Okay, so I'll read the first poem as my second poem. Creatures of Imagination is the shortest one. Anole, all afternoon and into the early evening, I marched up and down the long trunk of the rough oak. The pink pulse of my dewlap lifts and sets the sun. My skin is the envy of avocados. And the second one is Polyphemus moth. I emerge from my sack of brown silk. Plumose antennae tremble in an air of perfumes. I am the world at its beginning, and the author is Moby Warren, And he says, I step into, oh, I'm sorry.
The sheep.
She, I stepped into my backyard, and within minutes, I am mesmerized by the many-layered world of creatures who are the original inhabitants of this land, present long before we were. We live within their ancient rhythms. They awaken our imagination. I think it was such a wonderful poem to begin with, because that was talking before men, even. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcelle. Next, we'll have Anjela Villareal Ratliff. She has poems on pages 36 and 150. She's from Austin, Texas. Please welcome Anjela.
Thank you all for coming, and I first want to thank the editors who did an amazing job, Cindy and Scott. So thank you guys. I do have two poems in here. They're quite long, so I'm only going to read one, so I can stay within that 5-minute time frame. Which is a good
All those markings.
Yeah,
That doesn't look like it would help.
no, these are all the poems that I love in here. And that doesn't include the ones that I really, really like. So first I'm going to read the little intro. Can you hear me back there? Yes. Okay. Yeah, okay. My poem reflects a migrant mother's lifestyle and the harsh living of many who were forced to choose the migrant lifestyle to provide for their families. It was especially hard for migrant mothers to watch their children work the crops while hoping that they could gain a better future through education. And there are some words here that I didn't want to translate, but I may have to translate in the process to make sure everyone gets it. Okay. It's called Sufrimiento, a Migrant Life. Mi esposo y yo venimos de familias con ranchos y dinero. My husband and I come from families with ranches and money. But raising our own large familia has made us poor. Betito still dreams of oro y plata, silver and gold, and winning the Publishers Clearinghouse. Bouncing back and forth across El Rio Grande, our 10 were born in those países. In hard times, Beto had to sell his delivery truck. Hearing cuentos of rich harvest in Southern California, we drove day and night, packed like desperate gitanos, gypsies, to set new roots in the Coachella Valley. In summers, our familia drives to farther north to harvest abundant crops while still living in labor camps and needing to make enough for our rental back home. Sometimes we lived in long attachment that were aluminum cabins that were like ovens. We could often hear the neighbors' private moments through the walls. Sometimes we had a potbelly stove for cooking, maybe community toilets and showers, mostly one-room casas. One time it was a campo of large tents with an outhouse and outdoor water pumps we had to pay to use. We hung blankets over twine to make walls for our boys and girls. Once in a trailer camp, we barely fit in one. Farmers took housing fees from our paychecks. I wake first to make desayuno, breakfast, and our work tacos. Mis hijos, they get up in the dark to eat and dress for the fields. The huge loading trucks, they drive the familias to and from the strawberry and tomato fields. When we harvest plums, Beto drives us and our cubetas and our buckets to the orchards to gather the plums off the ground. I know the adult work is hell on our children, bending for hours under the scorching sun, but how else can we make it work? Que Dios nos perdone. May God forgive us. Mi esposo, my husband, drives them hard, rewarding the fastest with a hostess cake. I look away and pray when he breaks a thin branch off a plum tree to beat the slow-working ones. Trabajen más rápido, no sean burros, Beto insists. He says he is making them stronger trabajadores, stronger workers. In the fall, when harvest is near over, we return to our hometown. Whenever the landlord has raised la renta, Beto must quickly find another home. The children are chapulines, grasshoppers hopping from escuela to escuela. Muchas veces, many times, Beto decides we have to stay late in la pizca. After school starts, mis pobres hijos. They must catch up on their books or fall behind on their dreams. My biggest hope is for my children to gain mejores futuros con la educación, better futures with the education. Like Jesus Christ, como Jesucristo, I bear my cross. Sufrimiento is part of my life, but heaven will be my reward. Movida tras movida, move after move, we have become nomads. But my ancestors, mis antepasados, vienen de varios países, so I come from a long line of wanderers.
Next up, we have Leticia Urieta. She's an MFA student at Texas State University, and she's got poems on pages 38 and 74. Please welcome Leticia.
Thank you for having me. Can y'all hear me back there? Okay? A little bit? Okay. So I'm going to read my first poem about soldaderas. And a lot of what we read about soldaderas have been the women soldiers in Mexico and the Mexican Revolution, but a lot of people don't know that during the war with Texas, many women went with their husbands and their brothers and fathers into Texas from Mexico, and many died, and very little was written about them, so I wanted to kind of rectify that. After the battles, what will become of us? Our legs will remember the march, the creeping knees, the scrape of boot over rock, searching for a hold, a level space on uneven ground. So much of the battle is walking, leaving our querido pueblo for this hostile terrain. Hunger comes alive in us, each pass of the bowl less to go around, the shedding of objects that defined us, left behind on the road. What is our inheritance when our soldados are gone in this land claimed by the Anglos, who are newcomers here? They throw glances at our skin, the black of our braids, and wish that we would disappear. We reclaim the fertility of Mexicanidad, the will to form a new life in this República de Texas. Call it what you will, we still call it our own. This next poem, I wrote a paper from one of my lit classes about Luis Alberto Urrea's The Hummingbird's Daughter. He's distantly related to Teresa Urrea, who is considered a Tejana healer. She was of mixed descent, Mayo Indian and Spanish. So, and she was exiled during the Porfiriato, and so she's kind of known as a revolutionary figure. Santa, they call me saint. Ask where the power comes from, where does it reside? The power rises up, pushing against my impatient fingers, one touch and then I renew them. For life is renovable. circuitous as the blood rushing in the veins, the tendons knitting back together, the miracle done. The poder lived in me all along. It is nothing new, for we are a people of renewal, of transplantation, of revolution, eternidad like the rebozo interwoven in our rebirth. They call me Santa Teresa, the healer of Gaora, peeled away under many names, curandera, heretic, India, immigrant, exile, spectacle. I have the power to ignite the people like candles which awaken my image and pray out my name, the ritual of eternity that keeps me alive in the smooth, resolute flame. Thank you.
Thank you, Leticia.